Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Red, White, and Bills. The NFL starts today. I'm recording this at 12 o'clock in between breaks. That's why I got my business uniform on here. Taking a break. Thought I'd put this video out. I don't know when I'm going to be posting it, when you'll see this, but man, I just couldn't wait to get started. We got the weekly pick segment yesterday with Brett from Go Bills Podcast. Check that out if you haven't. It's a fun show. It's more than just the Bills. It's about all NFL teams. So it's really enjoyable. You saw the title correctly. The media darling New Jersey Jets, who haven't played in New York since 1960, are hosting a proven Buffalo Bills squad who everybody is sleeping on. And am I going to sit here and say the Jets did not get significantly better? Of course they did. But does it warrant Super Bowl aspiration and AFC East hype without even playing a single snap? And I have a few friends when the Bills were Super Bowl favorites last year who rightfully earned, you could argue rightfully earned that for the way they've been playing. They were all angry because the Bills got hype without doing anything. They never won a Super Bowl. Why are they getting Super Bowl favorites over the Chiefs and teams like that? But are you guys mad now that the New York Jets, who haven't done anything, who have the longest playoff drought in North American sports history, are favored to win the AFC East? And people are even talking about Super Bowl with them. And regardless, this is going to be a great game in New Jersey on 9/11. Again, it's going to be a full house, I'm sure. A lot of Bills fans, a lot of Jets fans. Hope everybody has a safe night. But without further ado, let's get into it. What do the Bills need to do to win in week one? First off, I think we got to take what the defense gives us, as well as focus on short to intermediate passes in the beginning. Also lean on the run game a bit. Because what did we do last year against the Rams when they had the best defensive player in the world, Aaron Donald? You have to do quick passes to beat a pass rush. That's the number one recipe to beat them. So when you look at Quinnen Williams and the Jets D-line, Quinnen Williams is the enforcer, future Hall of Famer, going to be the best defensive player in the world when Aaron Donald retires. But stay away from him. Definitely stay away from him. Quick passes will definitely help. And you noticed that last year when he's in the game, when he's playing, the Jets defensive line is one of the best units in the league. When he wasn't there, which you could say the same thing about Von, the Jets were really bad, statistically in all defensive line categories without Quinnen, which is obviously normal in my opinion because you got a Hall of Famer like Von, you got a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer like Quinnen Williams. It's definitely noticed when they're not there because they demand so much attention. So with that being said, take what the defense gives you. Don't look for the kill shot all the time. Sauce will get beat. DJ Reed can get beat. They will open up, but don't focus on that. Ken Dorsey really tried to, I don't know what reasoning he had, but we stayed away from the short game last year as much as we did the year before that. And I didn't really like that too much, but I think in year two, he will make adjustments that need to be done, and it'll be a lot better. Number two, I usually say first and foremost, but second and foremost, do not beat yourself. We saw the 12 penalties in the preseason. Yeah, it's preseason, but it still was mostly the first team. You got to come out. You're playing it away. It's going to be a loud stadium. I mean, you could say Jets fans are pretty loyal, but a couple years ago, they weren't even buying merch and buying tickets to the games because they were so bad. So, but now that they're good and they got Aaron Rodgers, all the season ticket holders are going to come back. It's going to be a full house. It's going to be loud. You got a rookie on the offensive line. You got a new guy like Connor McGovern on the offensive line as well. So you're going to have to be perfectly sound and ready to play football. And beating yourself against a team like the Jets, who have a great defense and a Hall of Fame quarterback, it's not going to be too good if you're doing stupid penalties on third down or second and short or things of that nature, holding. Third on the list, O-line needs to show out. Now, it's no surprise to us that the offensive line was horrible last year. Still winning 13 games. Josh still getting the second most touchdowns in the NFL and still winning a playoff game with a bottom five offensive line. And people also ignore that when they evaluate the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. Now, this year, we got rid of Roger Saffold, and got Connor McGovern from the Dallas Cowboys. Then we got Ryan Bates, backup center, and we got the best guard in the draft in Osiris Torrance at right guard. Still have Spencer Brown. Everybody, I've been his hardest critic, and everybody keeps telling me, well, he had injuries and back surgery, and you gotta give him time. We're now in year 3 without a right tackle, so he's going to be tested in the first 4 weeks. I mean, you got the Jets, then you got the Raiders, and you got the Commanders, and you got the Dolphins. So they're all going to find out, and I will too, pretty quickly, what we really have in him, and if the Bills made a mistake keeping him and holding on to him and waiting for so long without bringing in competition. That was the main thing. No competition for right tackle. Now we're stuck. Even with that being said, I expect this offensive line to increase dramatically this year in production and ability. Maybe not the first couple weeks. You won't see it as much because you still got to gel. But even with it being the first week, I see them making a significant leap compared to last year. Lastly, defensive line needs to prove they can produce without Von. And I know everybody's probably saying, oh, we got Greg Rousseau. We got Leonard Floyd, who had 9 sacks for 3 years straight. And we got Poona Ford, and we got AJ Epinesa, who I love all these guys. Ed Oliver, love him. Jordan Phillips, love him. Amazing. However, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, when Von wasn't there, we dropped significantly in production, pressure, sacks, win rate, run block, run stop win rate, pass rush win rate. And Rousseau had a good year, 8.5 sacks, but majority of that was because Von was there, taking all the attention, the double teams, all the focus, and he was able to produce that way. So also with Leonard Floyd, he was always next to Aaron Donald, and people say, well, Aaron Donald didn't play much last year. Very true. However, the amount of snap count he played in LA is going to be significantly more than what he's going to play in Buffalo because we're on such a rotation. He even said it himself. I like to just pin my ears back and rush. I had to play in run stopping downs. I had to play everything last year. So with that being said, I still think he's a good player, obviously, no doubt about it. But I don't expect him to get 10 sacks, especially with Von being out, because and then at that point he's the best guy. And then I don't think he can beat double teams and all the other things like Von can do. So we'll see. The defensive line has to step up. The Jets got Mekhi Becton starting at right tackle, who hasn't played a snap in 2.5 years. Elijah Vera Tucker is a potential All-Pro. Connor McGovern at center. People say he's okay, but okay is not good enough in this league. And then at left guard, you got Lincoln Tomlinson, who had a horrible year last year. Is probably going to have another horrible year this year. And then you got Dwayne Brown, who's 40 years old, coming off of a shoulder injury last year, where he also had a bad year. So a lot of what ifs for the Jets offensive line as well that you should be able to exploit, especially with a new and improved defensive scheme with McDermott, who also led a team to the Super Bowl in 2015 with the Panthers. And getting into that a little bit, a lot of people always, I mean, you have to bring up last year to a certain point. It's obvious because that's what you go off of until something new happens. A lot of people in the Jets fandom say, well, we beat you with Zach Wilson. Okay, the Colts beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Does that mean anything? It doesn't really mean nothing. My whole point of what I'm trying to say here is Leslie Frazier always had a top defense, but that defense that's on the film is not going to be what the defense is going to be coming out in week 1. So we have a little advantage in that aspect of it. We'll probably have an advantage for the first few weeks like that because we're going to be throwing a bunch of different looks out there. We're going to be more aggressive. We're going to be more dime package. We're going to be more NASCAR packages. There's a lot of things that we didn't usually do in a conservative defensive play style like Leslie Frazier had, who I loved, and hope the best for him. But everything's going to be different, and even on offense as well. Ken Dorsey's a second-year play caller. He took his lumps. He made his mistakes like we all figured he would. And now we got Dalton Kincaid. We can run more 12 personnel like we want. And we got better running back room. Not that Singletary wasn't great. I love Singletary, and I thought he just was, unfortunately, didn't have a great offensive line in front of him to show his true talent. But you got James Cook, Damian Harris. Damian Harris, if he can stay healthy, is going to be an incredible signing. Really good back. Latavius Murray, old but incredible back still to this day, and I'm looking forward to that very much. Now, when you look at the Jets players, they got a lot of superstars on that team. That's an obvious thing. So let's talk about them. Quinnen Williams, a guy you really have to try to stay away from. You can't shut these guys down but you can limit their impact on the game. Quentin Williams last year had 13 sacks as a defensive tackle, which is insane, 2 forced fumbles, and 52 pressures. That's absolutely incredible. He's an all-pro for a reason. And, I love his play style. I love how gritty he is and tough. But how you could stop that, like I mentioned, quick passes, zone. When you're running in a zone run scheme, run away from them. Also, you could do a gap blocking scheme where you block them out, down block them, double team them, get them out of the play. He's going to win some, no doubt about it. Doesn't matter how good you are in the middle, he's going to win some, but you can limit his impact on the game. Garrett Wilson, great player. Last year, 83 catches, 1,103 yards, 4 touchdowns. And a lot of people always say, well, he had 1,100 yards with Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco. At the same time, when you're the only weapon, when Breece Hall goes down, of course, you're the only significant threat on that team. It doesn't matter how bad the quarterback is, you're going to get targets, you're going to get the ball thrown to you. So a lot of people think because they got Aaron Rodgers that he's going to get 1,900 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. He could, I guess. I mean, I guess it's possible. But the misconception that just adding Aaron Rodgers adds 700 more yards to a receiver and 10 more touchdowns, I just don't see the logic in that, because he's still going to get probably the same amount of targets regardless. And maybe even less, because they got Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. They might run the ball more. Aaron Rodgers is old. They're worried about him being hurt, because if he gets hurt, the whole thing's done. So I think Garrett Wilson's a great player, but a lot of people say, oh, he's going to be a top 5 receiver this year. Unless guys like Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, if he stays healthy, unless they all retire this year, I don't see him being a top 5 receiver. But a great receiver nonetheless. And then Sauce Gardner, of course, 2 interceptions last year, 34 receptions on 74 targets. He was targeted 74 times, which is pretty good. A lot of people mention how Sauce, which I'm one of those people, and you can see it in film, always is very handsy, which I love, and basically holds or doesn't turn his head on when the balls are thrown at the receiver, and pass interference, things like that. One thing I will say is that's an art that a lot of cornerbacks don't have. So when people bring up Kyer Elam, like, oh, he's too handsy, I want him to be handsy. He needs to be that way, because you can be like a Sauce Gardner. That's why Sauce is so good, not just because of his height and his twitchiness and his intangibles. It's because he's able to master that art of every time he's going against a receiver, it's more than likely a penalty, but doesn't get called. And I bring up the not turning the head back for one reason only. So many times, Bills fans, you know what I'm talking about, have we gotten screwed on a call because the defensive back did not turn his head when putting his hands up in the air to block a pass. When you look at Sauce's highlight tape, a lot of the plays he makes, he's not turning his head around. He's just throwing his arms up and smacking on the receiver, knocking the ball out. Doesn't get called for it. I'm not hitting on the guy, because I think it's an amazing skill to have as a cornerback. You have to be physical, and I like physicality. That's what football is. So don't get me wrong there. But he can get beat. We've seen him get beat. Diggs is beating him. But what the Jets did last year was a Rex Ryan style type defense. You put your number 1 corner on the number 2 receiver, who was Gabe Davis. And again, I don't like the injury excuses if you're playing. Like when Josh Allen hurt his UCL, Spencer Brown had his injury, his back surgery. He didn't have to come back. And Gabe Davis had an ankle injury. I understand injuries happen, and it's a mental thing as well. And I absolutely respect that. But you're choosing to play, no matter if you're injured or not. So you have to take all responsibility of what happens, what you put on the field. Gabe Davis wasn't able to compete at that point last year. And then Stephon Diggs was bracketed. Then we didn't have anybody that could separate besides that, on top of a horrible offensive line that couldn't hold a block for more than a second. So Josh couldn't even go through all of his reads and progressions. We couldn't run the ball, and nobody was separating to get the ball to the receivers. The Jets had a great game plan against Josh Allen last year, and I'm not saying it's going to happen the same way this year, because I really don't think it will. But there was a lot of reasons why the Bills didn't perform well against the Jets last year. Not just because the Jets have a great team, but because of those things I mentioned as well. The Bills that need to step up to win this game. Gabe Davis. I mean, people like to say the Bill Mafia is too hard on him. At the same time, we're fans. We put money We put our life. We our week is ruined in all football. Week is ruined based off of if your team wins or loses. They make millions of dollars. They don't even care what people say. They say it's just noise, whatever. If I'm making millions of dollars and people are complaining about me, I could care less. I mean, I know Gabe Davis is a great player, but as a fan, I'm never going to not talk about the team's shortcomings and how they can get better. And last year, Gabe Davis dropped a lot of balls. He was very inconsistent. He came through big sometimes. He had 800 yards, but 200 of them were against the Steelers when, didn't really matter. Didn't have TJ Watt. They were in the same defense. And it's awesome to see. He's got big play potential. He's got clutch play potential. But as a number 2 receiver, like a game like the Jets, when Diggs is bracketed and can't get open, you got to step up. So they can't do that. So you get attention. And, he's a guy that really needs to step up this week. Spencer Brown, man, I mean, at this point, against a team like the Jets, I don't think it even matters if he was decent because of how ferocious the defensive line is. But it doesn't help that he's horrible. So we're going to have to see. I'd love to run a lot of 12 personnel and get Knox and Kincaid involved, but we're going to have to do a lot of chip blocks. We're going to have to send a tight end over there to help Brown very often, to make sure that Josh gets time to gets protection. We can run max protect plays, but then you're only sending two receivers out. But we don't want to do that. We got to be able to block with 5, maybe 6. And if they can get home with 4, it's going to be a long day. So Spencer Brown, you need to step up. And last but not least, Josh Allen. I say on my channel all the time, nobody's safe from criticism, and I don't hate anybody. I wish nothing but the best for these people. I'll never disrespect their families or anything like that. But from Josh Allen to the 53rd person on the roster, everybody's getting the same treatment. Josh Allen, like I mentioned, didn't have great games against the Jets last year. Yeah, we won one of them, but he didn't perform like Josh Allen could, like the typical Josh Allen. And obviously give credit to that Jets defense and Robert Saleh. However, Josh Allen's a top 3 quarterback for a reason, and he's got to perform, and he always performs under the lights. Pressure's not too big for him. He's played in massive games. He's outdueled Mahomes and still lost, not because of him, but he's not afraid of anybody. He's not afraid to play under the lights. He's not afraid of big moments. He loves that. He said his favorite place to play is a place like Kansas City because you can hush the crowd. That's why Jets fans it's gonna be so loud. That don't matter. He loves that. That's what he's a competitor, and he's got to play better. He's got to play like Josh Allen if we're going to win this game. And I mean, there's so much to talk about. I'm so excited football's back, and when you really look at this game, it's a huge game for both teams. You got the Jets, Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh hasn't proven to be a good head coach. He's a great defensive mind, great defensive coordinator, but he hasn't proven to do anything with the team that he has. Now he's got Hall of Fame quarterback. All these people are coming to play with him. Dalvin Cook, so on and so forth. And if you don't get it done now, when are you going to get it done? And will getting it done, will winning more games with this team that he's got now prove that he's a good coach? I'm not going to say it does, because if you can win with, if you got a Hall of Fame quarterback and you got Dalvin Cook, you got all these great draft picks that are playing for years now, you didn't actually, for me, first round picks, they don't get much development when they get to the NFL by coaches, because they're expected to be like that already. Looking at late round picks that are developing. I mean, obviously they get development, but you know what I'm trying to say. They're coming out ready to start, and there's only so much more better you can get, in my opinion. But he hasn't proven as a head coach that he can get things done. He choked a lot last year. They started 6-2 and ended 7-10. And you lost some of your great players, but that's when good coaches step up. I'm not even going to get into the list of the Bills' injuries last year. We won 13 games. That's a difference in a head coach. I'll tell you that right now. But and the Bills, in my opinion, I think we're the kings of the AFC East until someone says otherwise and knocks us off at the end of the year. And I say that because that's how it was with the Patriots for 20 years. And then when we got good in 2019 and we almost beat the Patriots twice, it was all one-score games, and we went into playoffs, everybody said, it doesn't matter what you do until you knock off the Patriots. But now all of a sudden, when the Bills win 3 titles in a row very easily, now all of a sudden everyone's saying, well, the Bills might even get last place, like people like Chris Sims and Mike Florio. Like, I know you don't want to make the Super Bowl favorites, but saying they're in last place, they're going to be last place possibly. Like, that's a little bit extreme, in my opinion. They're the team to beat in the division until it happens. Do with that what you want. However, this is going to be a great game. I'm not going to give a score prediction. I don't, I like score. I think it's fun, but it's just tough to say because it's week one. Also, you don't know how it could be a 6-3. It could be 35-33. Really don't know. But I guess for the fun of it, I'll say a score prediction. I think it's going to be 28-21 Bills, and it'll be 21-21 up until the last couple minutes of the game. And it'll be a very good game, very electric game. And I'm not sitting here saying, if the Bills or Jets, whoever loses is done for the year, because that really doesn't matter for one game. They could change the season around. So don't think I'm just a hater of the other team. I'm just being as realistic as possible. The Jets got a great team. They're significantly better, but I still think the Bills are also a great team and also got significantly better in the offseason. And wow, football's here, guys. I'm so excited. So excited. Also, quick announcement. If this is my second show once it's posted in the new season, me and Brett from Go Bills Podcast have a show called Red, White, and Ruthless on Nickel City Mafia's channel. It'll be every Saturday at 8:30. So tune into that. It'll be this Saturday will be the first one. We'll probably cover the pregame. So a lot of this again, maybe more. And then weekly picks has started up yesterday again from now until the end of the season. It's also a blast. Brett's my co-host. And then this will be the pregame show and the postgame show. So there's always at least 4 shows every week. But on Red, White, and Bills, there'll be 3. Got to head over to Nickel City Mafia, subscribe to Go Bills Podcast, and you'll see all the awesome content we're putting out. And I would love to hear your feedback. Jet fans, please let me know what you think. Bills, every fan base is welcome here. I want that. I want everybody to communicate. I want to learn as much as possible about every team. So then when the weekly picks happens, I'm even more knowledgeable about the picks. So please, guys, come in. Let me know what you think. Subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you don't like it, whether I won't feel bad. Trust me, there's a lot worse things people could say to me. So if you don't like what I do, let me know how I can improve to get you to like it, because this is all for you guys. I love doing this, whether it's one person watching or 1,000. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Go Bills. Let's have a great win Monday and get to a victory Tuesday show. It's going to be a wonderful time. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. Thanks, guys.